MC, rapper, producer, advocate, educator, and musician. These are the elements that makes up one Edward Fletcher. Along with these titles, one could also add pioneer and legend to the hip-hop game, as these words to associate with him. He is Savannah State's best-kept secret. Edward Fletcher is not only a mover of the crowd, but he is also a motivator in the classroom.
Teaching is the family business. My mother was a teacher, my father was a teacher, and actually my grandmother was a country teacher in Georgia. So teaching was kind of, even though I never was going to ever teach, we wind up doing these things. I had a pretty standard education in that I was one of those young black kids who went to they selected to go to all-white schools. I went to a place for high school called St. Benedict's Prep, which is renowned in the country as a sports powerhouse. I played football there, and then I went to a place called Dickinson College in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. I went to Dickinson because it looked like Princeton. I didn't get into Princeton, and they recruited me. I went out there, and it's got the same architecture. It's a beautiful campus. Well, it's close enough, and I went there, you know, and I played football 1 year, part of 1 year, quit. And after graduating from there, I got into Columbia University. And I went there for a year and a half until I quit to go play music. And then I actually went back and got a master's degree from Rutgers in educational administration, and I got a master's degree from the New School in media studies. So, you know, that education thing that your parents will always tell you, you gotta listen to them.
For some that may not know, Mr. Fletcher was a key element to one of hip-hop's greatest songs, The Message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. One could say that Fletcher was the messenger of the message. Along with Furious Five member Melly Mel, Fletcher helped write and produce the iconic song. This great song has been sampled by many hip-hop and rap artists today. The great likes of Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg has went on to sample the song. Also, the song has been featured in the popular video game Grand Theft Auto Vice City as a part of its soundtrack. The song has also been ranked number 51 out of the 500 greatest songs of all time, published by Rolling Stones magazine.
All right, so yeah, I was thinking about it, and I was saying, okay, what was my role in the development of hip-hop? And I thought about first of all, being a part of the Sugar Hill House Band. Now, Sugar Hill Records is the first chapter of rap. People like the Sugar Hill Gang, whom I played on all their records. The Funky Four, the Furious Five plus one, the Funky Four, Spoonie G, a lot of Treacherous Three, who went on to be Cool Mo D. There's just so many acts, 24 acts, and the band played for all of these. We would actually go with Flash to Disco Fever and think about what DJs were doing. He'd say, oh yeah, this part of the record is hot, and this part of another record is hot. And we would reproduce it. We didn't sample it, we actually played it. This is before sampling. This is real old school. Just rock it a beat. And then somebody would rap. They're not musical enough. Now, some of them are. None of them can do this. Musician, I was a percussionist. Sugar Hill, and I used to tell them, y'all better hope that I don't start rapping because you're not talking about nothing. And I would tell Sylvia Robinson, I said, look, you know, give me a chance, because if you do, I'll make you more money than any one person that ever walked through the door. So she said, yeah. And I said, well, you know, we'll see. Anyway, so time goes by, and I was outside after a session playing for somebody, just beating on a water bottle. And Sylvia heard that, because she was always listening to everything. She said, oh, Fletcher, I like that little rhythm. Play that. Come, bring that bottle in the studio and play it. So I brought it in, played it. We laid a bass line down on top of it. It sat around and didn't really do anything. It was, I liked it, but it wasn't commercial. So then a while later, my right-hand man, one of my mentors, who was her right-hand man, said, Sylvia's not hot on anything. Why don't you write a little rhyme to that beat you did? And so I said, yeah, I'll do that. I said, but I got some different music. And we had been out on tour with Zap. That summer, one of the best tours we ever went out on. Zap, Sugar Hill, Slave, and I forget who the other actor was. It was a great summer. I had that genius of love. Because people always say, where do you get the music from? That music was so singular and so different. Well, if you go back and you listen to More Bounce to the Ounce, listen to the Tom Tom Club, and listen to Brian Eno, My Life in the Bush of Ghosts, which is also very influential at that time, you'll hear where music came from. The rhymes came straight from me. And that's straight from me, except for the last verse. I played all the instruments except the guitar, which Skip played, and Mel had the last verse. But everything else is me. Played it, wrote it, and then they didn't want to do it. Flash and the Furious didn't want to do it. They didn't like it. Thought it was too dark. Nobody wants to bring their problems to the disco. So Sylvia tried all of them, and as I said, I wasn't a rapper. She said, Fletch, why don't you get a little rap name, and I want to keep your voice on the record. You sound like you mean it. I said, all right, and I did that, and that's where Duke Booty had already been around as an MC for other entertainers and shows, but that persona came out as a rapper then. And I did 3 of their biggest selling records with them. If you look on the record, it says Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, featuring Melly Mel and Duke Booty. I could be talking while you do it. Yeah, that's the New York Times, talking about how us as a band, which we were a $1 million band, if you want to get a picture, we're over here. And that particular band, not only did I get a 6-figure deal, the rhythm section got a 6-figure deal, the horn section got a 6-figure deal, so we actually did make quite a bit of money. That's me playing percussion over here, and that's Spoonie G, who I think was an early, really good rapper that a lot of people don't understand how much he influenced people. Let's see, what else? Oh, and it's funny, if you can get it, there's a movie now that this year was nominated for an Oscar that talks about 20 Feet from Fame, about background singers, about a girl named Cindy Mizell, and she's right here performing with me and us 30 years ago, before the Rolling Stones and Luther and, you know, who she with. Also, I worked on a big project I always liked, was I did a thing called Artists Against Apartheid, which everybody on earth was on. From Miles Davis to, see, that's the famed Sugar Hill Band. And the favorite band of all time, as far as I'm concerned.
Fletcher has been blessed to make his contributions to the hip-hop culture. Not only that, Fletcher is a family man, and one could also tell by the hallway dedicated to his family at his local home.
Yeah, this is like, you know, back in the 50s. My boyhood in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And my mother, who was a 3rd grade teacher for 40 years. Stuff like that. The shot here is interesting. This is all the jazz musicians in Savannah got together for a shot. Ben Tucker was over here in this shot before he died a couple years later. But that was a Sunday afternoon in Savannah where we all got together for lunch, and all the jazz musicians posed on that porch. My lifelong mate, my wife and I was born married. We've been together since we was 15. And I can't beat that. My grandbabies, you know, beautiful, of course. More 50s stuff. The oldest relative we have. So this is actually my grandmother's grandfather. More of this. More of the same. Family stuff. Me when I was about 50 pounds heavier. Yeah, all old family stuff. Father, me and my father and I, me and my wife and my son. This is like my grandparents' grandparents there. And, you know, some of these pictures, some of these people pretty old, you know. Because we're absolutely positive the other one was a slave, or his father was a slave. We're positive his father was a slave. But yeah, that's it, you know. My life, Elizabeth, New Jersey. You know, really, I don't even know if that kind of life exists no more, growing up as we did. All dollars. So you can't downplay the influence of hip-hop. I mean, it's the most vibrant, influential cultural statement probably in the last 50 years at least. And it's hip-hop is middle age. It's about 35 now, 79 it started. So. And I find it interesting that just like rock and roll, they blame youth violence on hip-hop and everything negative. But they don't, you know, I'm an older guy, and I remember when we were saying, oh, we want the youth to have a voice. Just give them a voice. And then y'all got a voice, and people didn't want to hear what you had to say. Unlike me, I want to hear what you got to say. May not like it, may not agree with it, but I'm always interested in what young people have to say.
Being the musician that he has also took the time to observe the current hip-hop talents of today. He's gone on to express that he is a fan of rapper Kendrick Lamar and the talented hip-hop group Odd Future. As of right now, nobody knows what his current plans are for the future, even Fletcher himself, but he still has the love for music today. With this love of music and love of education, one can easily see that Mr. Fletcher loves to spread his knowledge and wisdom amongst the youth about the music industry and life lessons in general.